Yes, welcome everybody. It is Drink While You Think. We've been gone a couple of weeks of the holidays, but this is how you come back right here with the one, the only Nayo Carter-Grey. What is up, my friend? How are you?
Hey!
It's so
I
good
am
to see
good.
you.
How you doing?
Good. We are good. We're excited to get a chance to have a drink with you and see what's kind of going on with you these days. At least in my screen, Matthew's all frozen up there. Is he frozen in yours too? Does he look like he's frozen?
Yes.
He's
yeah, he is.
He's like this. Now he's gone. Now he'll just pop back in here, and this is how we roll with it. So,
dang, Matthew.
Yeah, well, he's gone now. Now the whole thing got good here. So, all right, Nayo. Don't hurry on. He's back. Are you with us
frozen
now?
on the gate.
I know. We'll get you there.
All right.
He's back.
Look, he's back.
I'm
He's
hardwired.
He's back.
I'm hardwired.
You didn't miss
Wi-Fi
anything.
went nuts on me.
I know. Nayo is going to tell us about. So now you got to tell us about you, what you're doing in your firm these days, and what are you drinking? So let's go in that order.
You're not going to redo the thing, so we can just scrap that one?
No.
Okay. Hi, I'm Matthew. Now we get to the important person. Hey, Nayo.
Hi, I am Nayo Carter-Grey, owner and founder of First Up Accounting, located in Baltimore, Maryland, where we make accounting a little less taxing for small business owners all across the U.S. These days, I am getting through tax season. We got a few days left, woohoo, right? And I am also planning a wonderful virtual summit called Taking Your Firm Virtual for accountants, tax pros, and bookkeepers out there who are looking to move to the cloud confidently and securely. And super excited, and KK is definitely one of the speakers in the lineup.
Good. I want to talk more about that. I want to hear the details about this whole thing. But,
I'm excited. But you asked me what I'm drinking. So.
That's right. First and very important.
Sweet Walter.
Sweet Walter.
It's red wine.
Okay. Ooh, I like it.
I love this. It's one of my favorites. And, it's in a party cup because I'm still at the office.
Red Solo cup at the office. I like it. Oh, nice. All right, Matthew. I don't think you can hang with that, but what do you got?
Well, Drew Smith hooked me up. So he gave me a Great Lakes Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. So Drew Smith, who was a guest a couple weeks back, dropped these on my porch, and I was like, man, it was awesome.
You actually brought them over to your house? Wow,
yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I didn't even get to give him the chicken coop tour because I was on a Zoom call when he.
He's crazy about his chicken coop.
Yes, that's right. That was your COVID project, the chicken coop.
That's right.
Be careful getting him talking about it, Nayo, because he won't stop talking about it.
Okay.
Just like he's obsessed with it.
We'll do it in the outtakes. So
okay.
All right, I got a little bit of the that's a Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. I've had this on here before. This is one of my favorites. Great IPA. It's going to be a very high-rated one for me today because I know I love this one. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, everybody.
Whew. From the A-Town all the way up to Baltimore.
B-Mo in the house.
That's all right. So I want to hear more about the conference, the summit. Like what's going? You told us about it's for firm owners, it's for accountants, tax folks. How'd you come up with this? Where'd this come from?
So it came about because I am a huge techie. I love all apps and all technology. And when I started my firm about 10 years ago, full time, I was like, okay, how can we do this where I don't have to be chained to a desk? Because that's the one thing about accounting that I absolutely hate. Timesheets and being chained to a desk. Because if you're not at a desk, somebody thinks you're not working, right?
Yeah.
I know you guys have been there. So over the course of the 10 years, I have tested just about everything and been to all the conferences. Well, I should say most of the conferences. And nobody really tells you how to go to the cloud. They tell you you should be there, but there's never really the reasoning and the tools and the things you should be looking at to do it. Not only, not only the technology, but also securely, especially with us tax pros. We want to make sure we have the latest and greatest with the antivirus and things of that nature, right?
Yep,
and then the
absolutely.
need to do it right now came about because COVID hit, and there were tons of stay-at-home orders issued. And then we found that accountants who were traditionally operating in a brick and mortar setting had to now operate at home. And we're like, what the heck am I supposed to do? So they kind of duct tape some solutions together. After talking to some colleagues, I found out that people were just doing all kind of crazy stuff at home, using home computers that just were accessed by the outside. I'm like, oh my gosh, your client data is being it's not protected. Like, we need to really talk about it, dig deep, and teach these people what they really need to be doing. So that's where
I love it. I mean, yeah, I love it that you're doing it, because you're right. You've been to so many of these things, right? And everyone does talk about it like in theory, like, oh, move to the cloud. And now everyone just got basically pushed and shoved into the cloud. Now, so I think, I mean, I don't know if you were ready to go with this, or if you were like, nope, I'm just going because now is the time. Were you already ready for this, or was it like, nope, I just got to go with it?
So I had the idea about a year ago, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it, and then push it to the side. The thing that really made me say, okay, I have to do it this year, is that I was scheduled to keynote a accounting conference in Brazil. I was all excited to get on that plane, go to Brazil, speak Portuguese, and just be immersed in the culture. And then COVID hit and it got canceled. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Right. So I was excited to like inspire some accountants. So I was like, okay, let me pull this off the shelf. This was my idea. Let's do it right now. And it came about because I had a conversation with another colleague, and she was telling me some of her employees were working from home, and for a whole month, they didn't realize they didn't have virus protection on their computers. And they were doing tax returns, and they were using the same network with the general password that came with the Wi-Fi from Comcast or whoever the provider was. And I was like, oh no, I know that has to be a ton of this going on. So I was like, okay, now's the time. Let's do it. Let's make sure everybody who was forced to do this now really has a basic understanding of, the needs, and then how to kind of grow from starting the firm, taking it to the cloud, and then being able to build a remote team and all that kind of good stuff. So
I think it's awesome. I'm so not surprised by you that, like, here you had this great trip to Brazil, and you could have been like, wah, 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 like, and yet you decided to go ahead and like, you know what, I'll make something of it. So I think it's awesome. I do think everyone's going to need this. I know we've been, as your firm, as our firm, we've been remote for a while, so we're kind of used to it. But I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe I'll ask this one to Matthew. I mean, have you talked to any other firms who are trying to make this leap, or have you seen anything out there that's like, kind of like Nayo mentioned about like, oh my gosh, don't even have antivirus, or don't even have using like a shared computer? Have you seen or heard any challenges for other firms going through?
No, I'm the less fun partner at Acuity, I've been told. So nobody reaches out to me. They reach out to you.
Stop
so I have a good authority from somebody that I'm a less fun accountant or a person at Acuity. Now, in all seriousness, I think most of the people I talk to are dealing with not that issue. They're dealing with a kind of a side issue with how do you deal with employees that have kids and childcare at home. And in that workforce, that's been most of my conversations around that, because a lot of the people that I'm networking with are already in the cloud, but now dealing with your employees not having childcare is a totally different issue. That is a work from home issue that we were not dealing with, and that we weren't dealing with at Acuity, or dealing with on a much smaller scale. So that's been a big challenge and the focus is how do you deal with working around people's schedules and have clients. Care about having clients.
Trying to balance that. I mean, it is difficult. I mean, and I think, all of us, like our kids are older. Like we have some colleagues and the people who've got young kids, and I so feel bad for, you think about elementary school age kids, and if they're gonna have to stay at home and they're learning math and reading and things like this. That is really difficult for a young kid to do that. I mean, it's difficult for anybody, but those parents, poor parents, are having to kind of get involved with that. That is tough.
Yeah, so. I agree. And, you know, my son is older, so he's 27, and then I have some stepchildren with my husband. But when I had my son when I was young, so I had him when I was 14, and I used to take him on campus with me when I was in college. So
did you really?
He sat in my college classes. So, you know, I'm imagining if I had to go through this today, my son would be prepared because he knew how to sit in the class. He knew how to entertain himself, how to, you know, it wasn't far-fetched for him. Yeah. Some of these children are just so used to like the social aspect of it. I know that is driving all of them crazy because I was one of those children. I loved school. Like I went to school to socialize and learn. And that's the piece I think that's driving them crazy, having to be around their siblings and their parents. And it's like, oh, you're not really my friend. I'm like, I want to see my friend. Right?
I think of it as one of the reasons why Matthew and I love doing this, Drink While You Think, is we just, this honestly, and like all of us were on a call yesterday with Gusto, with a bunch of other accountants. And I think every one of us said how great it is just to be amongst our peers and our friends. Like this is one of our big friend groups. Like this is, I know like 5 people watch this, but they're other accountants, but like, it's because we have fun doing it. Like this is our people and we enjoy it. And I have to be mindful of our kids they have their friends too. Like that's not going to be mom and dad or brother or sister all the time. They need to have, I need this time with my friends like you and others. So the kids need it too, but it'll be interesting for sure. And I'm looking forward to the conference. I'm excited to be part of the conference. We'll provide some links in the show notes, how for folks who are looking at it to make sure you come and join me and Nayo. There's a bunch of other great speakers there.
20,
some are okay.
Some of them are okay.
I mean, like Joel. I mean, like really, Joel? No, I'm kidding. Joel Lacayo. We love Joel. I love busting on Joel. A lot of great
I thought you were going to say Michael Lee, actually.
Oh, yeah, Michael Lee, too. He's just, golly. I'll switch it up a little bit. You wrote a great article a couple weeks ago for Intuit. I thought it was a great article. And you talked about diversity and inclusion in the tax and accounting field, like our profession. And I love the way you approached it. I mean, obviously Intuit has the biggest voice, the biggest presence of anybody really in our space. So the fact they asked you to come and speak, and I think you kind of laid out and gave some advice and some thoughts, or just your thoughts on, hey, how can we as tax and accounting firms approach diversity and inclusion? I guess, again, we'll find a link to this as well, but like, give us the highlights of what you kind of shared in that article.
So, you know, for those of you who don't know, I am a Black woman, right? And so this has been, I have self-appointed myself an agent of change. And the reason being is, you know, my dad named me Nayo. I was born in the 70s. So Black power, Black pride has been drilled in me since a youth, right? And when you go to the accounting conferences or you're working at the big firms, it's hard when you walk in the door and don't see anyone who looks like you. Because my perspective is a little different than yours, because who I interact with on a day-to-day basis is not the same as you, especially depending on your background. Plus, I'm judged by the color of my skin, even when people think they aren't judging me. And it's part of it is the influences we see on TV, the Black is bad, white is angelish. So it's subliminal messages we don't know that we have. So we have these internal biases. So outlining this article, the first thing I really pushed for was take an internal bias test. You need to understand where your biases lie. Because if someone tells you said something that's offensive or racist, the first thing we do is get defensive about it instead of being empathetic and say, wait a minute, hold up. Did I? I don't know if I really did that. Let me figure out if I did. Let me listen to the person and say, oh, maybe I did. So taking one of these tests will help you kind of see where you may have those biases, so that if someone does say to you, hey, I'm kind of offended by what you said, instead of getting defensive, you can say, okay, let me check my privilege at the door and be better.
Mhm.
The next thing is then when you're thinking about hiring, you want to diversify your team, don't go to the same places you've always gone to, right? Try to go to some of the already established organizations that are made for people of color or, that are inclusive. So,
Yeah.
like I gave a link to the National Association of Black Accountants. NABA is a
NABA,
great organization, tons of qualified accountants that are a member of that organization, and they have orgs on college campuses. So another thing, we don't always have to hire right now for the position. Maybe we're grooming someone to come in and take over in those leadership roles. So don't be afraid to kind of go reach back to some of the colleges and say, hey, who's your biggest and brightest student? Let me bring them onto my firm as an intern, have them work for you for a couple of years so that you can hire them full time, and then bam, they have all the experience. They know they aren't already, they don't already have those bad habits that most older accountants come with. So they're like fresh, raw talent that you can mold and groom and then help them become the leaders of tomorrow. So
yeah. I thought it was, I appreciate that so much, Naya. I thought it was a great article. I had never heard of the biases test before that you referenced in there. So I went and took it, and it was really fascinating. Like I right away told my wife about it. I said, you got to try this out. And she was asking about it. I said, yeah, this is very, like I said, this isn't one of what she called it. She goes, oh, is it one of those like Facebook quizzes or something? I said, no, this is a scientific, like tons of universities. And I thought it was fascinating to go through. We're going to look at with our team doing something like this, but I was, I won't share my results, tell you what I was, that's a personal thing, but I was happy with where they came out. But it was a really fascinating thing to go through just because it makes you think about bias differently. And I think that I always felt like if someone said, hey, you're being biased, it felt like an attack, really. And really learning to say that, hey, all of us actually do have biases.
We do.
And we don't, a lot of them we don't even know about. We don't know, it's unconscious. We don't mean to.
Right.
And so that first step of just understanding that we all have biases, but that we need to be measured and thoughtful to say, how do we keep them in check? Like, how do we put them in check? So I love that. That's the first time I've ever taken one of those tests because I saw it from your article. I thought it was great. So thank you, Nayo.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
And when we talk about biases too, people automatically assume we're talking about a racial bias. It doesn't always have to be black or white. It can be male, female. It could be thin, fat. It could be a bias against disabled. So
I was really surprised when I looked at. I took the one on the racial bias one because that was what reading your article, that was top of mind. But when I went to that page, it had a whole bunch of them. I was surprised, and everything like you mentioned, everything from certainly gender to age age biases.
Yeah.
There was a ton of them there. So it's really fascinating. I think it's a really interesting thing for us to go through and take a look at. So thank you for kind of sharing that. I know I appreciate you saying you self-appointed, because I know a ton of people like me and others have been reaching out to you too. Like say, hey, Nayo, can I please get a little bit of, as a Black woman who's in the profession, who's a leader, how should we be thinking about this? So you're kind to do that for not just us, but for lots of folks out there. So anyway, you've been amazing on that.
Yeah, I tell people I was born for this. Like I feel like, when you have your internal calling, this is my calling, to make sure everyone understands how I feel, right? And being able to listen to you and answer any questions and then give you the truth. Because for the most part, people, even though my words sometimes come out direct and abrupt and what some people may call harsh, right? They're truthful and they're honest. And you listen to me even when you don't want to. It's like, damn, Nayo, she get on my nerves. She's right. Oh, right.
Well, but we've had that conversation, and but yeah, it comes from being passionate about something and speaking honestly, right? And sometimes it can come off in these cases of people are like, whoa, why is that person saying that like that to me? But I think it's it's been great having you as someone to be able to reach out to about this. And I'm glad you were speaking to the whole profession, because I think there's some things we can all be thinking about as we kind of go forward. Yeah. Another thing, a little changing up a bit, and you and I talked about this, I think a little while ago. It's been a little while, but I think it could be wrong. You've also got a little bit of a passion for. Are you taking the CPA exam? Are you all the way through it?
I have one test left.
You go, girl. You go. But also,
I don't know why I saved this one for last.
Which one's last?
I saved VEC for last. I don't know why, because now that I'm looking at it, it's economics. I hated economics.
Well, I was going to ask Matthew, since we're also the children of the 70s too, but we took it so long ago. Do you even know what BEC is, Matthew?
No.
I don't either. What is BEC? I don't even know what section that is.
It's the, I should know this, right? Who knows this stuff anymore? It's always about the abbreviations.
You can make it up, and I wouldn't know. Business, economic, business.
We used to have, we had financial reporting. We had tax.
That's reg.
We had business law and something.
Business law and audit, right?
And audit, yeah.
So audit, okay, so that's audit. And then BEC is the one that's got economics in it.
It must replace business law. It used to be business law.
Like business law and some of the SEC rules and all that kind of stuff.
So some of the SEC, so it's the SEC stuff and it's international and then economics.
Oh.
I can't remember what the heck it stands for.
It's all right.
Business economic concepts, I think is what it is.
Business economic. I like that better than business law. Back in the day.
The best thing I've ever heard is, what CPA stands for is can't pass it again.
There are lots of things he's got.
That's me and Kenji. So
there's no way.
He's not even legit anymore. He let his license expire.
What?
I know. I didn't keep up with it. I just got tired of taking on the CP. I know it's terrible. I think about how hard we had to work for that. And I'm like, I should have kept up with it, but I just haven't. But we got sidetracked on BEC because that was.
So the less fun guy keeps up with it.
Yeah, of course. The fun guy's too busy drinking on camera and acting up. But you and I talked also about enrolled agents and EAs. And I think that's been something important to you. And I feel like, if I remember last time we probably really hung out was either one of these conferences in New Orleans or Boston or something. But I feel like a lot of people don't have a good understanding of an enrolled agent or an EA, right? They think that like CPA is the everything, and it is. We've had to work hard for it. But I mean, I think you've been someone who's been passionate about like, hey, don't sleep on EAs. I mean, they can really be helpful. Am I remembering that conversation correctly?
Absolutely. So enrolled agents, for those of you who don't know, are licensed directly by the U.S. Treasury. They can handle tax matters in all 50 states. One of the major differences between CPAs and enrolled agents is that enrolled agents do not have to have a college degree in accounting. So this could potentially be a second career for some people. And that people who worked for the IRS, typically when they leave, they come out as an enrolled agent because they have years of experience. But all of the enrolled agents' continuing education requirements are in tax. So literally we study tax, not just individual tax, but business tax. You have some people who are passionate about foreign tax. That's not me. I don't touch foreign tax. Not my cup of tea. But enrolled agents can represent you when you get one of those nasty grams from the IRS. So you get that wonderful letter, the audit. They can totally represent you so that you, the taxpayer, do not have to walk into the auditor's office and just regurgitate some information that opens yourself up to more audit and scrutiny, right? But I'm very passionate about EA because there are a lot of people who believe that CPAs do tax, and only 25% of all CPAs do taxes. So just because they are credentialed does not mean they know what they're doing when it comes to tax matters.
Yep, that's right.
I mean,
amen. I'm the recovering audit partner of the group.
See, and typically people who like tax hate audit. So you'll never find me doing any audit anything.
I'm never going to do an audit again either.
Yeah. But it's such a misconception. I think every one of us, like I still have family members, right, who still think like, hey, can you help me with my tax return? I'm like, I've never done tax. Like, well, you're a CPA, and they think that, right?
Yeah.
I think the CPA thing versus EA is really interesting because I don't know if the profession has done a disservice to where it just holds up the CPA like in such a big thing to where, and it is important, but like, I think other things like the enrolled agent or the CMA, there's some other ones out there that are
CFAs, they're important
CFA,
too. Yeah.
that people just they're not nearly as common. I don't know that people give the same, maybe not the same respect is the wrong way to put it, but like they don't
understand it, right? So AICPA did a really good job. Their marketing campaigns come out and we hear about CPAs all the time. Even, like with Intuit. When they market, they talk about having a CPA inside. And I have to constantly remind them to, hey, don't forget about your EAs because you hire them as well to help with some of these tax matters. So, it's just about educating the public, which is why I'm very vocal about it. And then we have people who are coming out of college who are struggling to pass the CPA exam, but they want to do tax. And it's like, you don't have to do the CPA exam if you know your focus is going to be tax. Just stick with the enrolled agent exam. It'll give you some great insight into individual business taxes, as well as the ethics behind it. We should all be following those ethic laws.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's a great point because there continues to be a shortage of accountants. I mean, we're in a good profession and needed, but I think people think that the only path is through up as a CPA. They're not realizing there's it can be in certain ways. We've only added tax in the last year and a half as a practice, and even though Matthew and I thankfully are not doing tax, we have other tax team members who can do it. It's one of those things though that like clients really pay attention to. Like it's just we didn't offer it for years because we didn't know it. As former audit guys, we're like, well, tax and whatever. But clients get interested when you talk about tax and helping them be compliant, helping them, find ways to save, to be smart about taxes. Like it's an easier conversation I've found. I think we found as a firm to have with someone in tax versus, hey, let's talk about how clean your books are right now. Or, hey, we got that bank reconciled quickly. Like it's a more impactful discussion with the small business owner, I think. So
yeah, I was going to say, it depends on the level of the business owner because like for me, I primarily deal with what I call my hustlers. So they're coming off of the full-time job and now in full-time in business. And so the most important thing to them is how much am I going to owe in taxes? They don't want to hear about, oh, your cost of goods sold was down 30% this year. They're like, I don't care about that. How much am I going to pay in taxes, right? So it makes for a better conversation, like you said, being able to incorporate the thing that they know about.
Absolutely.
The thing that brought them into your office, because typically what brings people to the accountants and bookkeepers is they have this huge tax bill that they want to get rid of. Right. They tried to do it on one of those do-it-yourself software, and they're like, "Oh, the accountant has to be able to do this better than me," right?
Well, I mean, if it keeps them coming to the door, then yeah, we got to be there ready for them. So I'll say last thing. You and I get to be on a panel together too, not just at your conference, but also for Gusto Next, right? You and I and Michael Lee.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that.
Did you hear how long the panel is? All that time we
Yes, I did. That is so funny to me. I love it.
A 10-minute panel.
Short and sweet.
Dark out. I may get rained on out here, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Got all dark out. Woo! That's right. 10 minutes on our panel? Like, we're going to be able to say like, hey, I'm Kenji. Hi, I'm Nayo. Nice to meet you out. That's a quick panel.
You've now been on Drink While You Think now. Like it takes 2 minutes for Kenji to even get a question out. Like
I know it does. I gotta talk and talk
on the whole thing. Like we have a joke internally at Acuity. If you want to have a 15-minute meeting, have me run it. If you want to have an hour meeting, you need to puts a buffer, you have Kenji run it.
That's right.
That's funny.
That's how it works. So I guess we'll have to go fast.
That's like a good in between because I love talking, right? And I can talk all daggone day. But when it comes to meetings, I want my meetings short and sweet, to the point. Like, give me the agenda, what we're talking about. Half of this stuff I can send over email. We don't even have to meet.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know. I got to talk it out a little bit, but
so Kenji, are you the one if a client emails you and say, "Hey, you got time for a quick call?" Do you call?
Well, I will say that I haven't served clients myself personally in a long time.
Okay.
But I was always a big phone call kind of guy. I loved getting on the phone with clients when I was actually working with clients, and I would, I will say something that like I was probably the least technical CFO our team has ever had, but because I could just kind of talk, I think people were always surprised that like an accountant, CPA, CFO was like talkative, and people would be like, "Hey, can you get? I mean, yeah, you can come out here tomorrow again, and like we'll do some more work and hang out and talk a little bit." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm going to bill you for it." So one of my sneaky ways to kind of get those billable hours up back in the day, like I'll just go out there and talk.
Billable hours.
Well, I appreciate you being on here so much. We do. This is awesome, Nayo. Thanks for. I mean, I appreciate you asking me to be on at the conference for the Take Your Firm Virtual. We'll put all links out there. And hey, where's the best place now that my dog's barking and things are going crazy? Where's the best place that people can connect with you and learn more about your firm?
I am on all the socials, right? Personally, I play around a lot on Twitter as well as Instagram as Nayo Carter-Grey. And that is NayoCarterGray.
And we'll do our ranking of our drinks here. So where do we Nayo, I know yours, you love it. So that's is that
5 all days. Sweetwater, red wine.
Matthew, what about yours?
Mine's a Great Lakes Porter, and it's the Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. I'm gonna go with a 475. It's up there with the it is a straight up non-gimmicky porter, so no flavory kind of stuff, like straight up smooth porter. Yeah, it's a 475, I think.
Wow. And I'm gonna go a 4.25. This is one of my classics. This is probably the highest rated of all, like all in the 4s, 1 to 5. This was a good episode. This was good drinking going on.
Pliny the Elder episode. That was
good. That was pretty fun too. But again, appreciate you being on.
I'm laughing at your rankings here. 4.75. What would make it better?
What would make it better?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I say it's not gimmicky, so it's like really solid. Like when I think back to like the Oaxaca chocolate, just a little bit of like a
chocolatey kind of
or a chocolate hint.
Okay.
That was enough to like all day drink. Like that would be not all day drink, like a really like special occasion drink.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. I don't know what is a 5. That's a great question.
There's always that search. You got to keep searching for it.
Okay, always the search. See, what you guys are drinking would be a 0.0 for me, right?
That's all right.
I hate beer. It's like unless I'm eating crabs.
Okay.
See, it goes to certain things, right?
Right. Then give me a Corona.
That's a good point. That's when you're eating good seafood like that, especially being, a Maryland lady. I mean, crabs, all that. I mean, you gotta, that's your territory.
The best.
Great.
You're the best, and we appreciate you being on here.
I appreciate y'all having me.
Cheers to everyone. Hey, thanks for joining us this time. Reach out and subscribe to Drink While You Think. Cheers, everyone.
See you, everybody.